What if I told you that we're getting a game with time travel where altering one timeline will not only directly influence another, but every single timeline ahead of it? Well, look no further because this game might be up for Game of the Year this year. Yes, even over GTA 6. Last year, I made a video covering the initial demo for Adventures of Elliot: The Millennium Tales, and here we are with a whole new demo that is entirely multi-platform this time, as Team Asano gives us the ability to carry our progress forward into the main game. So naturally, as longtime viewers of this channel have become accustomed to, it's time for me to make a video detailing some of their changes and tell you everything you need to know about this game before purchasing it. I know we're taking a little bit of a pivot from Fire Emblem, but I really like this game and I feel really strongly about it, so I wanted to cover it. I hope you guys don't mind the break. We will be back with regular scheduled Fire Emblem programming at the middle of next week. So while I normally do these semi-reviews in a more of a structured fashion, I think I'm going to hit you with my most anticipated mechanic first, because I really want to talk about this one and I'm excited about it, and that is the time travel. Just a quick synopsis as to how this fits into the story. So as part of this game's story, you play as Elliot, who's an orphan child now turned adventurer who is tasked with aiding his kingdom with the exploration of ancient ruins. This is in the hope that they may find something to help alleviate the burden on the kingdom's princess. She has to continuously use her magic to maintain a barrier to keep out the beast tribes that attack them. Eventually, as Elliot, you're going to go through these ruins and unlock a portal to the past, which eventually he has to jump through to chase down one of the game's antagonists. At this moment, this is going to be the first time that you interact with this time travel system. And immediately when I saw it, I thought of two games. The first one that came to my mind is probably not the one that you're thinking of, but it's The Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Ages, which, if you don't know me, the Legend of Zelda Oracle games are in my top 10 games of all time list, and I adore them to death, so that was immediately a good sign. But in those games, you carried out various actions as Link to influence the past to affect the present in various ways along your adventure to defeat the villain. The second game that I remembered, which is probably the one that most people are thinking of, is Chrono Trigger, which is a legendary game, and that has multiple different timelines that you can jump through, going all the way from prehistoric times to dystopian futures. I think here we're going to get a combination of the two, and in this demo you can already kind of see it. In one of the later areas in the demo, it's kind of a snowy area, there's a house that's completely wrecked in the present time for Elliot, but when you jump to the past, about 200 years prior, it's still wrecked, but the outlines of the house are still standing here. This indicates that if we're able to jump further into the past, which the title is The Millennium Tales, so I'm assuming this is going to take place over an entire millennia, we are probably going to be able to interact with the inhabitants of that house and maybe even save them from their fate, which may cause this house to change in its future iterations. The ice area also has a cave that I noticed with fully blocked icicles in the present that are slightly lower in the past, hinting that over time this ice has accumulated, and so if you jump even a little bit further to explore it, you might have access at that point. I won't spoil much further than that, but this gives you a little bit of an idea of how you should play around with the demo and experience this for yourself. But I can't wait to take note of certain things that I may need to go to the past to explore, or vice versa, jump into the future to let it mature and reap the rewards of my exploration. The characters even make note that they didn't know that certain locations exist on the map until you see them in the past, and that will kind of prompt you to let you know that, hey, maybe you can revisit this back in the future. Which you can, even in this demo. So this mechanic, when done right, is truly magical and gives a lot of depth to not only the primary gameplay gimmick they're trying to create here, but also the world that they're building, as they'll have you invested along multiple iterations of the timelines. It's also just really cool to see the same maps, like literally our main kingdom, the big castle and all of that, and how they evolved and changed over the years when you jump to the past. And like there's a whole journal system where you'll be finding documents hidden throughout the world as you explore, and they're all stored within the library in the orphanage for you to go back, read, and enjoy. This is going to help you piece together the lore over the centuries, and you'll probably get a lot of background information from it, which I'm quite excited to see. Already in this demo, some of these characters will allude to, how the Hero King built up the kingdom in the past, and then you'll jump into the past and they'll start talking about a certain individual, and the name sounds familiar, and if you've played the demo, you probably know who I'm alluding to. I don't know this answer for sure, but I'm trying to put two and two together here, and I think this is very exciting because you'll get to see sort of the evolution of the world on a grand scale of world building that a lot of games take for granted these days, so I'm really excited about this. But now that we've already drawn the similarities to the Zelda games, we might as well continue with that and say that the game will put you through various dungeons along the way where you'll solve your way through overworld enemies and puzzles until you get the boss key and can challenge the boss. Each boss that I fought against comes with a few different moves and gimmicks that can be taken advantage of to turn the fight in your favor. And even halfway through, the boss will go into like kind of a rage mode and their skill set will change. And that's usually where you lose to them the first time because they take you by surprise now. I played this game on the hardest difficulty, and the bosses actually felt quite balanced and tuned around all of this, which I really enjoyed. I assume they're going to get harder and harder in complexity the deeper we get into the game and the more tools they give us, but for now, it wasn't anything too difficult. But I'll talk more on the difficulty options later, because I do have a little bit to say about that. With these dungeons, we also have little overworld shrines, which will give you a piece of heart to contribute towards your heart container. Here, they're just like red tears, but you get 4 for 1. I think the total number I could get in the demo was a total of 8, like full teardrops or whatever it is. And we also have side quests, which this game actually doesn't spam you with, because I think I only found a total of 5 in the entire demo. And there's actually like a whole page with a table of side quest people, silhouettes or places for it, so you can tell there's probably like, I can't think off the top of my head, but I'm trying to remember, it might be a total of like 40. But yeah, I found that these side quests were actually pretty rewarding, and they developed some of the side characters a little bit and told you their backstory, but 3 of them directly led us to acquiring a new weapon in our arsenal. As of this demo, we have a total of 5 weapons that we can acquire: the sword, which we have at default, the boomerang, which you can buy, the spear, bow, and bombs are all part of side quests that you can do to gain access to these new weapons. We also know for a fact that the chain sickle is one that we will get at some point later. It was in the first demo. After all, we got to try it out there. It's a sick weapon. Really, really cool. And then the most recent trailer revealed to us that our 7th and final weapon is a hammer. Those, in addition to the shield, will be the arsenal that we have available to us throughout the game, and all of these weapons have a system where they can be upgraded to stronger versions directly through enhancement. Just to be clear, the first demo actually had enhancements in it, and you can upgrade the sword, but it doesn't seem like we can do that just yet in this one, as all of our weapons seem to be stuck at 1 star in strength, and at least from what I could find, I didn't see anywhere where we can actually get the upgrades. But in terms of upgrades, what we can play around with is the Magisite enhancement system, which lets you put these like little mini skills on your weapons to enhance them and gives you a lot of depth in terms of the weapon builds and functions that you can do. You do start out with a little box that you can upgrade for money, and that increases the amount of cost that you can put these little Magisite skills in. I guess the stronger the skill, the more the cost it is, and so you really want to upgrade your box to deck out your weapon with the most skills possible. Some of them are as straightforward as increasing attack, crit rate, and crit damage versus adding some things like status effects or extra damage effects or even changing the moveset of the weapon. I didn't grind very much to really try to find a lot of these Magisites because the drop rate of the Magisite wasn't very high and you get a lot of it from the bosses, and some of them are like predetermined from the chests. But one of my favorite examples was putting an effect on my bombs that freezes all the enemies that the bomb touches, which basically guarantees that they will be blasted when it explodes, so we don't have to wait for the enemies to walk into the blast zone. I love this because a lot of times you'll throw the bomb and the enemy will walk just out of reach of it, and bombs are a pretty hot commodity here. I mean, you only get 10 at a time and they're pretty expensive to keep buying, and so if I can not waste bombs and maybe tag a bunch of enemies and blow them to smithereens, that's really fun. I honestly can't wait to try out all sorts of different builds with the weapons and post my findings, so stay tuned, we might have some Elliot adventures in the future of this channel. This demo also came with something new, and that's the involvement of the princess in this adventure. Initially, we don't see too much of it, but she enchants your earrings so she can talk to you throughout. I'm gonna be brutally honest with you here, and hopefully Square Enix or someone from Square Enix sees this video and takes this to heart. I don't mind her that much, but I'm not a big fan of this feature because honestly, she talks a lot. I've also seen a lot of backlash where these companions talk too much and they reveal too much and they hold people's hands and players get mad. I'm not mad, I'm just kind of annoyed. They do give you an option where you can turn it down, but not completely off. And I don't really enjoy her spoiling some of the puzzles or pointing me in the directions that I don't really want. It's like unsolicited advice, you know, where you're like at the gym, you're working out and some dude comes along, is like telling you what you're doing wrong. No, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm sitting drinking water. Like, stop telling me how much weight I need to lift kind of deal. And in a puzzle exploration game like this, it kind of spoils the fun of figuring things out and just like exploring the world, and she just gets downright annoying at times because of how much she talks, even turned all the way down. I get that sometimes we're trying to be beginner-friendly here and create a low bar for entry, and I'm all for it, but being tormented by the puzzles of Oracle of Ages as a young child has made me a smarter gamer, and I would like the option to turn this off completely so I can figure things out for myself. Nothing against people who want it, but give me the option too if I don't want it. But we've talked too negatively about our lovely princess, so what she does provide is certain magical skills, and at the beginning of the game, the only one we have available to us is healing at the press of a button, albeit with a cooldown. I do expect her roster of spells to potentially get expanded on later, but a nice thing the game does do is that when you go to the past, her magic can actually no longer reach you, and so it takes away that healing to make you rely more on your own skill. It's a nice little twist. I actually really enjoyed it. It did make the game harder, though I know for a fact that we are going to be soon joined by a fairy with her own skills later on, since we saw that in the first demo. And that fairy allowed you to swap between a couple of different skills that you gain access to. So I think it's safe to say no matter who our partner or who our companion, we're going to get an additional level of magical skills that we're able to use in the overworld and during the exploration of these dungeons. One of the last things I want to touch on here, because I think this video is getting a little bit longer than I anticipated it to be, is the difficulty levels, since it's something new to this demo. They have it going all the way up to a difficulty called Very Hard, which is the one I played on, and I have to say, I was kind of off-put by it. I'm not the greatest player when it comes to ARPGs, I will admit that. I'm more of a cerebral gamer given my SRPG leanings, but I'm not bad at ARPGs. I don't want to hear anyone saying it's a skill issue. Like, I'm genuinely not bad. But the issue is that this Very Hard mode in this game feels kind of imbalanced and not really properly done. We come from a Fire Emblem background here on this channel, and so if you think about it in this term, imagine if maddening was just HP and stat bloat. That's kind of what it is here. These enemies are just bloated to oblivion in the amount of health that they have, and they deal unreal amounts of damage to the point where a bunch of them will just one-shot you right out the gate, and all of them will two-shot you. I don't think there's a single enemy that took more than 3 shots on me, at least in the early game before I had a bunch more health. But I get that we have a shield, and we have more than enough weapon variety to deal with them, but I shouldn't feel like the overworld enemies are a chore to fight and that I'm constantly playing hit and run with them if I want to kill them. I literally ended up in the end game just skipping through them because fighting a group of them is harder than most boss fights in the game, and I don't think it should be that way. These could do with a little bit more fine-tuning because they're supposed to be fodder enemies, not bosses. They can be a little bit lower tier than the bosses. I did keep up with it, and I did beat the entire demo on Very Hard, and I loved the boss fights through and through. So the balance there at least was excellent, but the overworld enemies need just a little bit more tweaking. Also, just another aside before we kind of wrap up this video, I really like the music in this game, and it reminded me a lot of Triangle Strategy, which is a game I'm really fond of, so it gets bonus points from me there. But for now, I think I would highly recommend that everyone who sees this game try out the demo because I really enjoyed it. And you should all consider buying this game because I genuinely believe they're going to do a phenomenal job with it, at least from what I've seen. Square Enix, if you see this, hook me up. I got you guys. I'll cover this game, I promise. So yeah, anyways, until then, we can return to a regularly scheduled Fire Emblem content schedule. I'll see you guys on Tuesday, I believe, and I'll see you guys in another video very soon. Let me know if you have any questions on Elliot in the comments below or what you guys think. And until then, peace.